Well, hello and happy Sunday, and welcome to Let's Talk News. I'm your host, Leticia Remauro. We have a few things to talk about, apparently. Lots of stuff is going on, especially the release of the Epstein files. Have we heard enough about these damn Epstein files, or are we suddenly more interested because Bill Clinton is all over the Epstein files? Let me know what you think. Drop a comment. I have a couple of photographs, which I'm happy to show you in just a little bit. Hello, Andrew Dorman. Good to have you with us. But the question is now that we have all these Democrats and royal family, Mountbattens, yeah, I think that's how you say it, Mountbattens, uh, involved in the Epstein files. Um, are the Republicans more interested and the Democrats less interested? I can tell you this Republican doesn't give a shit. That's kind of how I feel. Doesn't give a shit. Hello, Francine. Good to have you. And I'm going to tell you why I don't give a shit. Because I'm not one of those people that believes just because you're in a place with somebody that's a bad person, that you're a bad person. Um, I believe that Bill Clinton's a bad person because we know that he liked young girls. Um, he got a blowy in the White House by his intern. So that's for sure. I didn't need to see him in the Epstein files to know that. Um, but I don't know about Mountbatten and everybody that walked through the door. Was Michael Jackson a pedophile? They had said he was. Um, his being with Epstein, does that make it so? I don't know. And honestly, we have so much else to do. Hello, Kevin Wall. How are you this evening? Hope you are well. Hello, Debbie Lebedo. Good to have you with us. And Colleen, how are you? Um, so Colleen, 2 years in a row, I sent her a Christmas card and it didn't get there. And come to find out it was my fault. I was cursing the post office. And somehow, though I have her address in my address book correctly, I mean, in my phone correctly, in my address book, it was totally wrong. And I don't know, overlook, overlane, you have the zip code, you couldn't figure it out that there was a misspelling of the word. I mean, I don't know. Crazy. All Hollywood kids said Michael Jackson was never inappropriate. Yeah, but he's in the Epstein files. So is anybody in the according to all of the Democrats that have been clamoring for these Epstein files, Trump being friendly with Epstein, and I don't think we ever saw him in a photograph other than a suit and a tie or a golf shirt with Epstein. Um, but for them, he becomes a pedophile because of that. Hi, I received your card. Oh, and that you're very welcome. I'm glad. I'm glad to know it because here I am blaming the post office, and all the while it's me. I'm a ding dong. Okay, so here's Bill Clinton in the hot tub, and that square box, that is an underaged young woman in the tub with him. I don't know. See, that I think is problematic. It's not like, oh, I just met him, Epstein. It is a problem. I mean, he's in the hot tub with supposedly an underage woman. And I say supposedly because they've been showing pictures of Trump with like models and calling them victims of Epstein when they're not. So I just hate this whole thing. There's a post about Trump and ripples that was subsequently redacted. Not sure of age of woman. Yeah, they were. There was a picture photo of Trump, and then they pulled it off, and then they put it back on because they said that there were no underage women in the picture, and there were no Epstein victims in the picture. Uh, ripples, not ripples. Nipples, maybe. I or ripples. I don't. I'm not sure. Um, but I understand since it's been re-released. So, uh, listen, you cannot get me to believe, um, not pictures, words. Okay. There's a post about Trump and ripples that was subsequently redacted. Not sure of age of woman. Okay. Okay. Trump and nipples. Okay. Okay, got it. All right, tits. All right, then I don't know what that is about. That whole thing makes me sick. It makes me sick too. Maybe you can help me. The post, who posted it, where, what, when. I don't know what we're talking about. I'm in the dark on this one. I'm sorry, um, because honestly, I don't give a shit. I don't care about Epstein. He's dead. He's dead. And these girls are suing, and they should get every dollar for the estate. And Trump is helping. And that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Here's another picture of Clinton swimming, and that looks like Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know who else it is. It is in a hotel. And, so figure it out. Where's Hillary? I don't know. Um, just crazy. Uh, let's see. His name was blacked out later. His name Trump. Okay. Again, I'm not sure what we're talking about. Uh, good evening, Kevin Young. Good to have you. Thank you, Chrissy. You are pretty too. Um, let's see. Hello, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Hi, Mickey. Merry Christmas to you and to Mom. Good to have you tonight. I do not believe Trump was complicit in any way. Neither did I. And I just, did Trump like women? Absolutely. Was he single in a very public way? Absolutely. Um, what did he have opportunity to be around supermodels constantly? Absolutely. Not a crime. None of that is a crime. None of it. Hillary is a keyboard. That's funny. So the whole thing, I guess, is, do we really care? Now that Clinton is involved and some others, are Republicans more excited about these Epstein files? Like I said, I'm not. I think that, let it be. Let the victims get their money. Not that that could ever repair what was going on. But we also have to remember that some of these young women, made themselves available, whether it was because they were prostitutes, they were runaways, I don't know. Things were different back in the 80s and 90s than they are today. I could tell you that I was in places that I was not supposed to be as a teenager, and plenty of people could have been in trouble for my stupidity. But I take responsibility for it, not my parents, nobody else. I take responsibility for it. So I always approach this like the Me Too's. I approach this very carefully, because those women going back to some man's hotel room like Bill Cosby, to get on the casting couch, that's not an accident. That's full knowledge. So don't pretend that, oh, I thought I was just going to play checkers. And, he, next thing I know, I'm drunk and in bed with him. No, I don't buy that. I'm sorry. Women are smarter than that. And all these women libbers should be out there saying so. So the victims, the ones that were truly victims, I think that they should get compensation. The ones who were just fast and loose, and we know a lot of them, because they thought it would be thrilling, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't go back in time. And you tell me which one of us, 13, 14, 15, 16, who may have developed early, wasn't doing something against what our parents had taught us to do and those teenage years. Open the files and let the Democrats do whatever they want and end it. Agreed. Me too. So many bad places, right? I mean, come on. A lot of people, the Ozzie and Harry family wasn't always there. All right. So anyway, let's see what Andrew says. Trump and Clinton faced their trials and paved their way in history other things happen with these Epstein files, they will pay and pave their way through more history. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know what else could possibly happen with these files. It's freaking ridiculous. Okay, so Dan Bongino announced that he is leaving the FBI this week, and I'm not surprised. And, I picked this clip because, from what I'm told, this is kind of what precipitated his leaving. Watch.
Dan Bongino, Deputy FBI Director. We are learning in the last literally 8 minutes, he is leaving that position.
Yes.
After some tensions, in part, right, around some of this stuff. Talk us through this.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and he's sort of commented on this in Fox News.
And by the way, this is his tweet or whatever online X post in the last, you can see it, in the last 6 minutes here, 9 minutes about this too.
Real breaking news. But yeah, when he started out before he came to DOJ, he was in this sort of podcast realm, and he was saying a lot of sort of really inflammatory things and making a lot of suggestions that weren't necessarily backed up by evidence. And then, when he came into the Justice Department, or the FBI, one of the first things that he really leaned in on was the pipe bomber case. And I think that that's something that he sort of will now try to take credit for and say, we got
related
this
to January 6th.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
But, what got him interested in that was that he was fueling these conspiracy theories about the pipe bomb, that maybe this was a government setup. So it is just fascinating, as you're pointing out, to have these individuals who are very into these conspiracy theories then sort of getting inside and being like, well, maybe this wasn't exactly what I thought it was from the outside.
He didn't even last a year in this position, though. Is that unusual to see the deputy director leave after that shorter period?
It's unusual to have a podcaster in there in the first place in that position. And I think that, certainly it's usually a person who is a career employee who knows what's going on. But certainly it's a very lucrative other side of the bar here. He's not making a huge salary right now as the deputy director or co-deputy director. He's going to make a lot of money when he goes back to the podcast.
Well, he is. I was just pulling this up because President Trump, I want to make sure I get this quote right on my computer over here, that President Trump was asked just a little bit ago, did Dan Bongino tell you why he's leaving the FBI? And the president said, he did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show.
Yeah.
He wants to get back to the podcast.
And just
So I understand that that pipe bomber thing was important for him to uncover, and he did. He spent time on it, and I'm glad he did, right? We found out a lot about that. Also, his health is an issue, and time with his family is important. It was a lot of stress. And, it's hard when you're an old not old, age-wise, but in the field agent, and then you're behind the desk giving orders, really, really different, different kind of thing. And you know what they say? You can't go back, and you shouldn't go back. But anyway, there aren't any more women livers. Now it's against women. No one knows what a woman is. You know what? That's a good point. There aren't any women livers, and that's unfortunate. It really is. We're kind of going backwards. Good Sunday evening to you, Ramon. Good to have you. He said he can't believe what he learned in the FBI and how corrupt it is with no one suffering any consequences. So he decided his family was more important than his job and wasn't doing anything. Yeah, I mean, it's, the thing is that it's so entrenched. It's so entrenched. And you can't do everything. You just can't. You can't clean everything up. I watched Dan years ago. He seems legit to me. Oh, 100% he's legit. But again, you can't go back. I don't think that when he was an agent, he saw the corruption like he sees it now. And it's not easy to, you only the top layer comes off. With a new president. Those that are in there stay in there. They're like freaking like ingrown hairs. You can't get them out. So I think that he looked at it with different eyeballs this time and realized that he couldn't make a difference. I wish he would have stuck it out a little bit more, because Trump needs more friends there. But I think that Dan wanted to do things quickly, and there's only so many things you can do. Sorry, I signed on a little late. Did you talk about Elise Stefanik? Not yet, just about to. So you're just in time. Glad he's gone. He didn't support his people. Oh, really? Okay, help with that. I don't know what that means. He didn't support his people. The FBI? Now Elise Stefanik now running for governor. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Said she wants to focus on family too. Yeah. Everything has connections, indeed. I think in this political climate that if you are going to be a part of the system, that's a marriage, not just a job. It's true. I mean, look at Nicole. She never married because she's been so heavily involved in politics as an assemblywoman and now a congresswoman. When's their time? What's going on with Bondi? Why doesn't she want to make arrests? Because she wants to win the cases, and she's got to get the evidence. It's different the than the Biden administration, where they made arrests and then found a narrative to fit the arrest, even though they were all made up lies, such as Trump with the files. This administration is doing it the proper way, which is following the evidence before they make an arrest. But if Bongino types can't even clean up the corruption, then we now just accept it. So corruption is the norm. Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the corruption is the norm, Colleen. It's been the norm. But you've got to stick in to be able to clean it up. And it can't just all happen at the same time. And you've got to pick your battles, and we've talked about this on this show. And I'm, a little sad that Bongino didn't stay. I'm sad that he didn't help. Trump needs help. Bondi is also dealing with corruption in the justice system, of course, because listen, there's always been corruption, but it really went off the charts in the Obama administration, and then the Biden administration, or should I call it the Autopen administration? It just continued. It's hard to fix all of this, but someone has to be strong enough to stick it out. Yeah, but who's it going to be? If Bongino wasn't going to stick it out, who is it going to be? Kash Patel, I'm sure he's going to stick it out. 100% sure he's going to stick it out. Vance, 100% sure. But you have to play the game in Washington. That's the thing. It is like the blob. If you don't play the game, if you don't convince people that you're on their side and you're playing with them, they will destroy you. One way or another, they will destroy you. We've seen what they did. Look at what they did to Vito Fossella. Yes, his secret family was a problem, but they were the ones that opened it up. They were the ones that let it all out because he wasn't playing ball with Clinton. And that's a problem. That's a problem, right? Was it Clinton? Who was it? I forget which one it was. God, I am old, right? Oh, Jesus. Who wasn't? Well, Susan Molinari was with Clinton. And then I don't remember if it was the Bush administration who got veto. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. Yeah, it was Bush. It was Bush. And then after Bush, it was Obama. It was Obama's administration. That's what that went down. It's bad news. It really is bad news. They can destroy your life and they can take your life. And we know that that's been done. Colleen Mahoney, yes, but you have to be willing to give up your life in this climate. Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, I'll die for my country. But no, not a lot of them will. That's 3 strong MAGAs jumping ship in a short period. We could lose 2 seats in Congress. And if Bongino isn't strong enough, who is? Oh, well, we've got more problems than that in Congress. We have 55 people not seeking re-election. Not all Republicans, but a lot. Well, look what happened to Mayor Adams. As soon as he flew to Washington to ask for help with illegals, they ransacked his office and started investigating him. They had the investigation done. It was going on for a while. It was when he started criticizing the Autopen administration that they decided to elevate it. And when he was going to Washington was when they decided to execute the warrants to make it very, very public and to make sure he knew why this was all happening. Crazy stuff. That's why I'm not in Washington. That's why I refused. When all the jobs I was offered, I refused. I cannot even abide that place. It's just gross. All right. Let's talk about Elise.
U.S. Representative Elise Stefanik, a senior House Republican and close ally of President Donald Trump, said on Friday, 19th December, she was leaving politics to focus on her family, ending her recently announced bid for New York governor and ruling out re-election to Congress. Stefanik, 41, serves as House Republican Conference Chair and represents New York's 21st Congressional District. When her term ends in January 2027, she will have spent 12 years in Congress.
Okay, so here's, I'm not going to tell tales out of school, but here's my take on what happened. So Elise, it was supposed to be Elise and Mike Lawler. They were thinking about running. And then it was decided that Elise would do it with no primary because they didn't think a primary was a good idea. I disagree. I think that Republicans should always have primaries because if a Republican has a primary, then people are talking about them the whole time that the Democrats have primaries, right? In this case, Kathy Hochul is the incumbent. So if there was a primary with Elise in it, the Republicans would have gotten a lot of focus. But some of the men in the state, after Lawler begged off and realized he couldn't win, some of the men in the state decided that Bruce Blakeman would be a better candidate than Elise because Elise was so close to President Trump. And they believed that that was a death knell for Elise. And as I understand it, they came at her in force and said that there would be a primary between her and Blakeman. And she wanted a clean road ahead with everybody unified because she believed that that's how she could, the only way to win. And she's right. That was the only way to win. Or that was a way to win. But a primary wouldn't have been a bad idea. I wouldn't have done a Lawler primary because Lawler was in Congress, so he would have had to step down from Congress. But a primary would have been a good idea. Get the coverage, but the problem with the primary, the only problem is the further right you are in a Republican primary is the one that wins. So that becomes a problem too. So Elise did what she had to do. She said, fuck you. I've been here for 12 years doing this shit and building, filling your coffers. And, you know, I grew up in Congress basically. And now you're not backing me. Screw you. And off she went. And I don't blame her. I know exactly how she feels. And I don't blame her. I would have done exactly the same thing. The 55 old timers or newcomers who are disillusioned. I'm going to show it in a minute. Swamp. Yeah. Listen, the Republican swamp in New York is there. Now Bruce Blakeman is running for governor endorsed by President Trump. And that is exactly what happened. So figure that out. Thank you for your perspective. Always interesting. Yeah, well, they fucked the girl. And honestly, and Elise and I have spoken about this, and I've spoken about this with Nicole and other Republican women. You know, when it's a male and a female in a Republican primary, it's usually the male that wins. So why put your neck out there? I wish she would have stayed. I think that if anybody had the chance to win, it was her. Put Bruce Blakeman against Kathy Hochul. I don't see that working because the women in New York State will come out. Here's the problem in New York is that if the transgender issue is going to drive people to the polls, it's going to drive the Democrats to the polls too, the real left Democrats. So I don't see how anybody overcomes New York City. I've said that before. But Bruce Blakeman is the man, and Elise got fucked. And now she said, well, fuck you then. I don't like them pilfering Congress for state positions. Well, they weren't pilfering Congress. She wanted to do it. No, I'm not. I'm actually a heterosexual woman. And if I was trans, I wouldn't tell you. You want to know why I wouldn't tell you if I was trans? Because trans people don't want people to know they're trans. All of my trans friends don't want to label themselves as trans. They want to be either women or men. And that's what is in their heart, and that's what they feel. And so they would never tell you they were trans. So think about that, develop it, and go hang out with truly trans people. My friends who are trans are in their 70s and 80s, and they've spent their life as the sex that they chose, and nobody would ever know the difference. Nobody. And oh, by the way, they didn't get things cut off either. Swamp politics with all screwing is worse than the Epstein files, 100%. And we need to talk about that. What a fool. I'm trying to figure out who you're saying is a fool, Kevin. But there's plenty of them in Congress. Plenty. Okay, so that's what's going on with the lease. All right, so here it is. Here's the members leaving. Now, I'm going to put this up, and you can see there are about 20 some. These are like 10 each. I think there's their pages. There's 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats leaving the Senate, and then there are 20 some Dems leaving, and the House, and 30 Republicans leaving. So yeah, it's not good. Not good. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the seats. Of course, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance. These are all the seats that are coming up for election in 2026. They left their seat in 2024, and so now these seats are being vied for. So there are 2 special elections. Oh, by the way, the 2 special elections is one in New Jersey, and that's happening on April 16th, and that's Mikey Sherrill's seat, and then in Texas 18. Sylvester Turner died in office. He's a Democrat. And so there's a special election for that. Let's see. Hold on a second. When is it? The seat became vacant when Representative Turner died in March 2025. No candidate received a majority vote in the November 25 general election. So a special election runoff is scheduled to be held on January 31st, 2026 to fill the seat. So there's 2 Democrat seats that are to be filled. So we've got 11 senators leaving and 44 members of the House. So as I said, it is there's a lot, and we've got some real issues here. The question is, are we hearing about them? No. Why aren't we hearing about it? Why isn't there a full court press right now out in New Jersey? Why aren't Republicans being called to help? April is tax time. So hopefully the Trump tax cuts from the big, beautiful bill will be kicking in April, and that could make a difference between a Republican and a Democrat. There's a lot of opportunity here if we could just get our shit together. My trans friends are also discreet, and you'd never know. No, truly trans people believe themselves to be the other sex, and they will never confide in anybody that they're not, and you can't tell them that they're not. I choose not to run for public office or join a county committee because I see how they throw anyone in there to fill a vacancy, and I'm nobody's guinea pig. Well, that's good. You should pursue the seat. If you want a seat, you should pursue it because you have an agenda and you want to fulfill it. Ramon Hernandez is a dirty game. It is a dirty game. Tell me where to find the list, please. Yes, on NPR. NPR has the list. A very dirty game with dirty players. Yeah, well, that's politics. I hope no Democrats get the seats. Well, they're going to because it's just the way of the land. But we can't have them flipping Republican seats. I just campaigned and protested, and although it's a lie, level politics, you can still see and experience the corruption, especially with the Board of Elections. Oh, yes, absolutely. Low level, yeah. There is a Republican candidate who's running for Congress in New Jersey's 11th congressional district. Yeah, who is it? Because I haven't heard a word about him or her. So, Ramon, get the name, give us the website, let us know. I know you're very active out in Jersey. Let's all get active out in Jersey. I knew trans people when I worked in the doctor's office, and they were discreet. Always, always. There's a new trend of, people, new trend of people saying, I'm a trans woman and I want to be treated like a woman. No, then don't use the word trans. I'm a woman, and be done with it. This whole trans shit and the different pronouns, none of that is real. And getting body parts cut off and sewed back on, and God bless that there is the ability to do this stuff now. But all of the people that I knew that transitioned, they transitioned without having any surgeries. And they knew who they were, and they were very discreet, and they still are. And some of them are 70 and 80 years old. So, to that person who thought they were being smart because they jumped on a conservative podcast and thought maybe we didn't have trans friends, wrong. As a matter of fact, we have the original trans friends here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's Sunday, and we covered a lot of ground today. I will see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thank you for watching. Please share the show with your friends and get them to watch. Go over to their house and put it on YouTube for them.